Go ahead, Bill.
Hello, my fellow Americans. This is Bill Lipinski.
And I'm Ray Hanania, and this is season 2, episode 11. Being a senior citizen, you think that's easy to remember that stuff. It isn't easy. Of two guys on politics, and we're the continuing saga of the empty speaker's chair in Congress. Talking about a vacancy in a very important spot. They can't do anything. There must be a rush, though, right, to fill that spot, because they can't appropriate any money to Israel. And that's a big political thing this year. They want to get that money out, because if they don't.
Well, listen, they know that they're not only appropriating money for Israel, but they're appropriating money for Palestine.
Yeah.
And they're appropriating money for Taiwan. And they're appropriating money from the Ukraine.
Right.
Have I missed anybody? Oh, yes.
Well, wait.
Migrants. All those migrants. The
migrants. Yeah. That's the top. You're at the top of the appropriation list, right? So they got Israel. They got money for Israel at the top of the list. Ukraine.
Right.
Migrants. Taiwan. And then if you jump all the way to the bottom, you're going to find, insignificant, unimportant things like American veterans, American homeless, and American senior citizens. Nobody's talking about them getting any money. So I don't think we should expect anything. Are we getting a bump in our Social Security in January?
Very small, very small. But oh God, I was going to say something I thought was brilliant, and now it's come and gone. I had a senior citizen moment.
Oh, well, okay. Listen, I'd rather have a senior citizen moment than anything else. I'm happy to be a senior citizen. But yeah, we got all those, the veterans, nobody cares. The seniors, nobody cares. The homeless people, nobody cares. But if you're a migrant, wow, they got to rush to get you money. Ukraine got to rush to get you money. Israel got to rush to get you money. And Taiwan, rush to get you money.
Don't forget the money for the Palestinians. Please remember.
Oh, yeah,
that.
They'll give us a little bit. There'll be like strings attached to that. So I don't know how much we'll get. So we'll see. But let's go back to the speakers, because there's some news just now. And again, we're taping Thursday, October 19th. This episode 11. What's the latest on the continuing saga?
We do not have a permanent speaker. And Jim Jordan has not dropped out. He hasn't stopped trying to become speaker, but he and McCarthy and a number of other prominent Republicans have decided that they are willing to make what's the guy's name? McHenry? Yeah, McHenry, the temporary speaker, the temporary permanent speaker until January. So they thought so that they could move all this legislation that they have to move. But it turns out that Scalise and the other top members of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives is opposed to that. So now if they're going to move it and make McHenry the temporary permanent speaker, they're going to have to get some help from the Democrats. So they would then have a coalition government. Now, I have no idea what that means.
I heard that there was some talk that Hakeem Jeffries offered himself up as a temporary compromise candidate. I'm sure he wasn't being selfish or self-interest.
He was just thinking of America, that's all.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm sure.
So we're, as usual, with the chaos and confusion conference of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, we're really no place. Okay? So we really can't do anything.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the Ukraine people, politicians go, migrants, people, Israel, they stand at attention and salute. Because, Israel is like our 51st state. That's priority number one going into next year's election, especially when the pro-Israel lobby channels hundreds of millions of dollars into the campaign funds of candidates. They can't do any. If they don't do anything, why would they give them the money? So there is a rush, don't you think? I think this
I'm
latest
staying out of
conflict.
this one.
Well, it's okay. Wait,
You go right ahead, Ray.
you're not still getting money, are you? You're
Say
not getting
whatever you want to say.
you're not getting campaign donations still, are you? The Israelis didn't
Anymore.
realize
No,
you retired.
no. Once I was not, I was going to say, once I'm no good to them, they cut the money off. But I don't want to say that because I don't want to get involved in this conversation.
I listen to the Palestinian. I promise I'll edit that out.
Okay.
Okay. I got my fingers crossed. I just want you to know that.
I noticed.
But on a serious aspect, the conflict in the Middle East has created an urgency, even over Ukraine and the migrants. And with all that buildup, they really feel there's pressure on them to get something done.
Yes.
How else could they get money to, anybody without going through the Congress, without a speaker? Is there a way to appropriate and send money?
Not that I know of. In order to send money out, it has to be approved by the House, the Senate, and the President. And unless there has been stuff approved by the House and the Senate, and the President hasn't signed it, that could be the only money that could still be sent out. But I mean, with the situation in the Middle East, as far as I can remember, there hasn't been a speaker since the war started in the Middle East.
Right.
And, there's more money that we want to send to Israel. We're sending money to the Palestinians also.
Right. They've said that, but we'll see.
Yes, they said that. Yes.
That's what they said. So,
Okay.
but they said they're going to send. Can they send any money though? I mean, they have to get everybody to agree.
Right. Absolutely. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So really talk about a bad moment for not having a speaker. Because all these Republicans are up there fighting. Yes, they're our number one country. Oh, but we can't do anything for them because we can't tend to agree in our own party who's going to be our leader. So that is a major stumbling block. But they do have ideas. Remember, I gave you the one idea. I said, my thought was, is there any possibility that the Republicans might line up behind nominating former President Donald Trump as the Speaker of the House? That's a possibility, theoretically.
It's a possibility, but first of all, the House, or maybe not the House, certainly the Republicans would have to change their bylaws for the Congress, because right now, if you are under indictment, you cannot serve as Speaker of the House.
But what if you have a record number of indictments like 91, which certainly is a huge record? It's in the that's going to go in the Guinness Book of World Records. Wouldn't they want a celebrity like that leading the charge?
Well, first of all, they'd have to change the rules of the House of Representatives. Now, I think they could do that, just with the Republican votes, but you never know. There might be some Republican who says no.
Right. And I think you pointed out the last time we talked that is there a margin of about, if 5 Republicans vote no, is it 5, I think, that can hold the entire Republican Party hostage? Pardon me?
If he can afford to, anyone running for Speaker on the Republican side can afford to lose 3 votes. If they lose 4 votes, they can't be elected Speaker.
Oh, so it's 3. They can 3 votes, they can get in. But if there's 4 votes, it doesn't take much then. One person can become like a powerful person at the moment to get whatever they want by holding off a vote.
For the first time ever in the history of Congress, the vote that Jordan got the second time around for Speaker was 199. That's the lowest number of votes a candidate who is in the majority party has ever gotten, in an election.
What does that say about the Republican Party?
Well, it says they're never going to elect Jordan. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The first time it was 20 people voted against him. The second time it was 22. I've been told that there's a plan to any time that he runs, there are Republicans prepared to vote against him so that vote total continues to go up each time.
Oh, really? And
Mhm.
what could he win then if there's another vote, you mean? Or the vote,
Oh.
the number of rejections.
Exactly.
Then I got it. The number of rejections go up. So why don't the Democrats, I mean, is there a Republican that the Democrats like? Who where they could vote, couldn't they? The Democrats could vote for a Republican, couldn't they? And
Good,
or is
absolutely, sure.
so if Manchin is a Democrat, what about him?
Well, he's a state senator. I mean, he's a U.S. senator, though.
Oh,
He-
sorry. Okay.
Now,
Yeah,
I am
him.
sure when Denny Hastert was running for speaker, I had given serious consideration to voting for him. So I checked everything, and there was no impediment to me voting
Right.
for Hastert as speaker. I finally didn't vote for him because a lot of Democrats who were going to join me from Illinois and vote for him because he was our home state guy,
Right. Right.
they all backed off from the pressure that their good friend Nancy
Pelosi. Yeah.
Speaker Pelosi.
Well,
So I wound up being the only one left to vote for Denny, and I succumbed also. I voted for whoever our that was Nancy was our candidate at the time. Yeah.
yeah, and it would be kind of embarrassing for the majority party if they had to rely on votes from the minority party in the House to actually elect a speaker. Can you, and let me ask you a question because of the procedure. I think this is interesting. Let's say that of 3 Democrats joined the Republicans and they elected somebody. Could there be a challenge to that election and say, hey, we want to oust them? Is that hard to do once someone's elected?
Well, it didn't seem like it was too hard to oust McCarthy, did it?
You just take
It's-
you make a motion and then you take a vote.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
And then-
based on the existing rules, one person can stand up and say he wants to vacate the speaker's office.
Right.
You take a vote. If most people vote for it, he's out.
And so it'd be a stain on a Republican to say they got elected because they had the Democratic votes. What a mess we are in. And there's no independence. I can understand independence maybe jumping just to get past this, to say what's the better, the lesser of two evils. Maybe they go back to McCarthy to give him the vote.
Well, I still think it's going to ultimately be McCarthy.
Yeah. So no chance that Donald Trump could make it, though, right? He could be nominated, right? Somebody could nominate him.
He can't be nominated until they change the rules.
Oh, that's right, because of his indictments.
Correct. Mhm.
Is that fair, though? Because an indictment is just an accusation. You're not convicted.
Well, I guess, but when there's 91.
91 indictments. Yeah, you figure one of them is going to stick.
Yeah, yes, I would think so.
Okay, and technically Trump can't
I know
run.
you'd like to see, from the media standpoint, you'd love to see Donald Trump
No,
become speaker, but I don't think that's going to happen, Ray.
as a pro-Palestinian activist, I'd like to see disruption in the government to slow down all the support for the other side. But that's all that talk, he can't do it because of that the rules. Is it a Republican rule or is it a House rule?
I think it's a House rule. I am not sure.
Okay.
It definitely
All
is a
right.
Republican rule. I know that.
But if you are the daughter of a war criminal like Liz Cheney, could she run if your father was a war criminal?
Absolutely. The guilt of the father does not fall to the daughter.
I think it does, but
I think
boy, we can only laugh.
Yet, but
I
was
I'll tell
listening to a left-wing program this morning.
Why would you do that, Bill? Why would you do that?
You have to know your enemy, Ray.
Oh my God. You can only imagine. Go ahead.
The host of that was saying that this whole situation in the Middle East is a plot to involve us all in a much wider war. It's the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, and a couple of other smaller countries want to go to total war with the United States and with the free countries of Europe. They're itching for the Third World War. And that's why they have pushed this situation in Israel and Palestine and Gaza, because they want to see other countries jumping in there to help each side.
Well, I was, as a matter by coincidence, yesterday evening.
I don't
was
believe that. Excuse me, I don't believe that. But go ahead.
I was on I was a guest on a black radio station in New York, WBLS radio, and they're African Americans, and it's a big radio network. A lot of the big African American former members of Congress and members of Congress have shows on that program. So I was talking with them, and being from the Middle East, I was happy that African Americans, for the most part, are supporting the Palestinians. Number one, and
you're not from the Middle East. You're from the Middle West, is where you're from.
I'm an American from Chicago. I only have one citizenship. I don't have dual citizenship.
I don't believe in dual citizenship.
I don't either. As a matter of fact, I wrote about it this week, that's a terrible thing to allow that to happen, because it degrades your patriotism toward this country. Absolutely. But during that show, I remember there was a lot of expression about, how easily, when you look back at World War I, how it started, and maybe World War II, but mostly World War I, when they shot the Kaiser and the wife, a Serbian assassin, one guy assassinated them. Wait
a second. The Kaiser, he left, he abdicated, he went to Norway or Sweden. He didn't get shot. The Tsar of Russia and the Tsarina and all their children were shot and killed by the Bolsheviks. The war that started, the Second World War started, is when Archduke Francis Ferdinand,
correct,
was murdered.
Archduke, whatever. The Archduke, he was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, right? And his wife.
Very good. Yes, he was. Yes.
Yes, that's what it was. So, but there was a guy, they were in Sarajevo, I guess, and I guess a Serbian assassin shot her, and I guess it's the Germans, right? Was that the German, or Austro-Hungarian?
Yeah, Austro-Hungarian Empire was connected to Germany at the time.
Right. Okay. So they got upset and wanted to declare war on Serbia.
Correct. And they declared war on Serbia. And then Russia, which always felt they were the big grandfather to Serbia because they're
right,
the same religion, they decided they had to go in and help out Serbia.
Right. And then the US and Britain ended up helping Serbia also. And that's how the war started. Just that one little event, this assassination. Right. And absolutely. They made the comparison that, first we have Russia and the Ukraine at a time when the United States is extremely weak, with weak leadership. Russia and China have built up kind of like a new shadow UN with their new organization. And they have all these wealthy Arab countries that are supporting them. They have Iran now. They brought Iran and the Arab countries together, two sworn enemies now. They're somewhat allies, not 100%, but pretty close. And I'm thinking, wow, now we got this war in Gaza between Israel and the Palestinians. The Palestinians are backed by Russia, backed by China, backed by Iran, backed by the Arab countries. And the U.S. is siding with Israel. Now we got two wars going on with the same groups that are bumping heads, and the U.S. has been supplying weapons to Israel. We've been supplying weapons to the Ukraine. It looks like a pattern, whether it was intended or not, that we could be headed toward a World War III as a result of these two conflicts coming together.
That's what the left-winger said this morning on his program. And I have to tell you, ironically, I heard the story on that African-American station in New York somehow during the night, I got that on my radio, and they were talking exactly about what you just got talking about.
They must have hijacked it from when I did my story. I said,
Could be.
but there's a big feeling. I mean, it's not just, I don't know if it's just the left wing is the reason I brought that up. The pattern looks like, there is a real possibility that something could happen that would spark a bigger war. The interesting thing about this war in the Middle East is it's taken the spotlight away from Russia and Ukraine. I haven't heard any stories about that since this war in Gaza started, and that terrorist attack by Hamas began October 7th.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I agree. It's just this situation with Israeli and the Palestinians has just blown all national news out. No one talks about anything else on those cable stations other than what's going on in the Middle East. I mean, for all we know, Russia could have won that war against Ukraine,
and we won't know.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's a bizarre
terrible
time that we live in. I'll tell you that. A bizarre. And let me tell you something here. Now, I don't.
That's all right.
Our president flies to Israel yesterday, and he promises them help.
Right.
And he talks to the Bibi Netanyahu. Okay, we stand with you. Okay,
right.
We're standing with the Israelis. And then they're talking about this hospital situation. And our president says, well, our side said that they didn't put.
Yeah, he said that was done by the other team, I think was the phrasing he used.
That's where I was going, yes. Now, how can you have all this bloodshed, all this conflict and call these guys teams, whether they're the Israelis or the Palestinians or Hamas? They can't be teams. That's a sporting event. People are getting killed all over here.
It's just bad leadership. And just on the hospital, and obviously I don't ask you to agree or disagree with me or whatever. I mean, not even asking you to push an opinion, but the UN issued a report today that said the Israelis had warned the hospital, we're going to bomb you. We're giving you 24 hours to get everybody out of there. They warned them twice. Now the Israelis are saying, oh, no, that wasn't us. That was a Hamas missile that destroyed this huge, it's not just a small hospital. It's one of the biggest hospitals in Gaza. It's like something like, I think, 10 stories high and a block wide. It's huge. And one missile took out that building. I don't think Hamas has a missile that powerful that could do that. If they did, we would have seen much more destruction in Israel. The Hamas missiles don't come close to the U.S. missiles that Israel uses. Those things are powerful. You see the buildings collapsing in Gaza. When one missile hits them, the entire building collapses. So there's still a question about all that. But as a result of that,
now, when you finish, you can wake me up, okay?
No, but what I want to point out is the most important thing about this whole thing isn't so much who's responsible, although I think the Israelis are. The bigger issue, though, is the Arab world used to be our allies. Remember, they were Russian allies in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. And then after that 73 war, they came and they allied themselves with the United States. They're upset about that assault, so much so, and by what Biden said, that they refused to meet with Biden when he went to the Middle East. He was supposed to meet with them. They said no. Every one of those states canceled their meeting, and all the talk about the Saudis discussing a normalization plan with Israel, that's out the window. Now the Saudis are saying, no, let's go back to our peace plan that we proposed back in the 80s, and that's where we're going to start. This has rolled back everything and pushed the Arab world, which is still, despite Elon Musk and electronic vehicles, we still rely on oil and gasoline. And the Russians and the Arabs have a lot of it. The Iranians. This is going to cause a problem for us, won't it?
Well, no, not if we pump all the oil that we have in this country, like they were doing underneath Trump. We were not only self-sufficient, we were exporting 25% of everything we pumped. Now we're importing 25% of everything that we need, which makes no mistake.
No
I don't
sense.
understand that at all. I know
Yeah.
it's global warming people are they keep talking about these fossil fuels. Well, right now we don't have batteries big enough. We don't have enough recharging stations to take care of all the cars and vehicles that we would need to take care of them if we got off of oil. So, it's far too premature. I mean, the leadership, as far as I'm concerned, in this country and around the world, is
We've
not
messed up.
forward looking.
Yeah. Nobody's thinking ahead. They're
Nope.
barely making it through the moment. That's the scary part. All right, Bill. Again, we're leaving our listeners with chills and concerns and fears. It's not much hope. I mean, the potential for this to explode into a world war with everybody's already divided. That's the thing that makes it scary. It's not like this issue is dividing anybody. We've been divided. You got Russia, China, Iran, and the Arab countries now on one side. You got the United States, Israel, most of the NATO countries, and Europe, the European Union on the other side. Some of the NATO countries have been waffling just over Ukraine, and a few of them are upset about the Middle East. These are the ingredients of another bad problem.
Yes, sir, it definitely is.
All right, Bill. So, well, I thought we'd have some excitement with Trump being named as Speaker of the House, but I guess that ain't going to happen.
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski. Until next time, a fellow American.
And we'll see everybody next week. We hope you'll join us again on Two Guys on Politics. Remember, our website is twoguysonpolitics.com. Talk to you later, everybody. All right.